Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. And did you catch yourself anytime asking how to upload your code, just your code, without think about your hardware, creating a virtual machine or something like that you have to spend a lot of time to create and configure it, even though using the capabilities of Azure that it's easier to create a virtual machines, but you have to think about your hardware and configure this hardware to be able to receive this application. So then, if you are wondering about that, stay here with me because we are going to talk about the Azure Service app, especially about the web app. So our goal here is to navigate through this Azure Service app, more specific web app, and in this first minutes, I will give you a brief about what is the app services and some services provided is covered for these Azure App Services. And then we will follow by a hands-on how to create it and navigate through this creation, such as passing through the app settings, network, some integrations such as GitHub, Azure DevOps, and deployment slots, understand a little bit about the deployment slots, and then the scaling. So, what is Azure Service Apps? Azure App Services is an HTTP-based services that it's for hosting web app, backends to communicate with this web app, and also the ability to provide API REST. In order to have that, the app services environment can host an API app, mobile app, and Docker containers. All of those one that I just specify here could be in Windows or Linux OS. But you also have the ability to create functions and logic apps in the standard way. But now let's understand a little bit more about the web app. So the web app is when we have server-side application. So then you can host the server-side application that contains some image, and your client can hit it and see your website, a simple website. Yeah. And let's say that you need a backend to communicate and integrate with your mobile front end. So then you also be able to have it using the app service. So then we have the mobile app that will do this integration between your mobile front end and your back end. So then if you create this back end and have this integration. So then take advantage of that and use that to send some notification as an example. But let's say that you just want to provide an API that has not a user interface, but you want to provide some communication and way to integrate using through XML or JSON. So then you have API app. So those one are some examples that you could be using through the Azure App Services. All those examples that I'm giving to you, you do not have to think about the infrastructure, the hardware. You are abstract above hardware configurations. So you have the ability just to go and upload your code, and here in the right hand here you see there is three ways that you can provide it. It could be provided through a code, so then you upload your code for this resource, given take advantage of the some configurations such as GitHub Reactions, Azure DevOps, Visual Studio, or you also want to upload your web app, API, mobile, but you already have a container image, so then you could like take advantage of that and use your container image as well. And you also have the static web app here to in order to have that, but those are some type of configuration and the way that you take advantage of the app services and be ready to go. So now I want to present to you hands-on if you want to understand how to create it and understand some configuration of that. Stay here and have this hands-on, which you're going to create a web app and a service plan in order to have this web app. And so then understand the app settings that it's responsible for this web app. So there we could have some configuration such as connection strings and another configurations, the network, the way how you provide this web app. And so then we navigate to this network and the integrations that you could have integration with GitHub or Azure DevOps or Bitbucket. And so then also understand the deployment slots and the scale. So given that, let's see and understand how it works. So here I am in my Azure account, and to start our demo here, we need to create. The idea here is start to create app services. So if you search here for app services, you see there isn't any app service created here. So we could take advantage here and create one web app. There are other types here of web app service, but if you want to say, let's say you want to create an API app, you could search here. Again, you could go here, create a resource, and so then here in the marketplace, you search for API app. You see there is a API app. This one has the proposed just for REST API, RESTful APIs. Yeah, but you're going to see that the configuration of this one will be the same when you search for mobile app or a web app. So here we have the same configurations. All right. So then, in order to have it, I will create a new resource group. In that case, I will call it as demo, and then the name must have be a unique name. In that case, if you try to put a name that anyone around the world has been using, it will not work. So then I try test hider. So yeah, thankfully there is anyone using that. And remember when I mentioned about there are three ways to publish it, and so here in the publish is where you be able to choose how you want to publish it. If you pick the code way here, so you have to select the language that you wrote your code. Yeah, you have to write your code in one of those languages here. That is the runtime stack, otherwise it will not work. In that case here I'll pick the .NET 8, but you could be using the container image, and if you choose a container image there is another configuration here that you could use a quick start. You could be using a Azure Container Registry, Docker Hub, or even though private registry here. But in our case here, I want to demonstrate to you to run a demo using a code. Anyway, so then the operation system, I want a Windows, And in order to have it, we must have a service plan. Yeah, and this service plan is responsible to host this web app, and it's responsible to provide the features and the hardware for this web app work. But you do not need to uh, take care the infrastructure behind that. You just need to take care of some configurations such as what is the app settings, how you want to scale that, uh, how, how how many memories you want, how many gigabytes of memory you want, and this is the reason that you have to create a service plan. Into the service plan, under the service plan, you could have more than one web app, but the web app just have one service plan. So keep it in mind. So for this one, I will give the name demo plan, and I will pick here the price, and we will understand about this price a little bit ahead. But I will pick here the basic one. As basic one, you see there isn't a zoning redundancy here, but I'm able to have a database if I wanted, created, or integration, continuous deployment here integrated with my GitHub actions, the networking. You are able to choose to have it public or not public. In that case, I'll leave it public. Also, you could enable the network injections here, but in order to have that, you need virtual network. But I don't want to enable it right now. And the monitoring, as standard, we have application sites to be configured, or pick one that you have been using and read. But in that case, I don't want, and I will not put any tags here. So this is the simple way to create web app. But now after creating it will take around 1-2 minutes. But after creating, there are some configuration that I was explaining to you in the beginning of the video. That there is the app settings, there is the slots, there is the integrations with Azure DevOps, GitHub Actions, and so then we're going to navigate through those configurations, how to configure it. Okay, here we have here the app set, the web app configured. So I could take advantage here. So not the button to click on and go straight to the resource that we just created. It wasn't there, but if you click on here in your home screen, you can search. Probably will appear here for you. If not, you can go here in the app services or search here for app services, and so then jump to that. You see here there is a web app create, and also there is a service plan, and what is the type, the price tier we create. When you click on here in the web app, due to we left it as public, will appear here a URL that anyone around the world can access this URL. And as a standard, Microsoft provides us a simple web here, just saying that okay, your app is up and running. There isn't any code here, just the app running. Okay, now let's understand a little bit more about it. Firstly, if you want to have your environment variables. You have to configure these variables here in the app settings. And so you, instead you have app settings in your application, a file for that. You could take advantage of these app settings here, or even though use those one integrate together. And when you to configure it's quite simple. You just click in add, and let's say here I want a dev user, and so then you'll be hide the user. I could take advantage of to use that in a specific slot that you pass through it as well. So then I apply it. When you apply it, you'll be restarting the web app, but we don't have nothing here, any code published. Yeah, so you could see this variable here, but there are some advanced things here. You could be editing here in a JSON file, put it wherever you want here. Is not our case, but now what I want to do, I want to configure some connection strings. So it's the same process. You could have here your connection string saying okay dev db, something like that. So then you have your values here, like the connection string, and so the type of this connection string. So you can choose one of those or a custom one. It's up to you, depends on how is your environment, and they also choose here deployment slot. So if you apply it, now you have here a connection string configured, and also the app settings configured based on how your application is working. Okay, but if you know a little bit about IIS, or if you don't remember, doesn't matter. But here, this configuration, it's about how going to work this resource. Yeah, so even though that we have choose there during the creation what is the stack, you could be change here whatever you want, the stack that you want to be used, and also the version, the platform settings here could be changed here as well. And when you have in IIS, you are able to have a document to be opened when you open a web page, a page. You could have this default document here, or maybe a path mappings, error page. So then this is the way where you configure it. So let's say that you want to scale it. There are two things here about the scales. There is the scale up and the scale out. The scale up is related to your hardware and your feature reviews. What does this mean? This means that if you want more hardware for the applications that it's it's in the service plan, you must have to change here to pick one of those hardwares. But as you can see here, there isn't much difference between the hardwares. Yeah, here in the hardwares you see there is the basic one, the premium, the standard as legacy. Yeah, but you see the vCPU, the ACU, vCPU, it's not, there isn't a difference between basic and standard, for example. Just the thing that change here in the hardware perspective is the remote storage the basic start uh, 10 gigabytes, and the standard one go to 50, and in the premium we have 250. But what matter here, the only difference is for production that it's using the premium tier, that instead of being using 100 vCPU, ACU vCPU, you have 195. But you see the vCPU don't change much here. If you look here for the standard S2, standard S3, they are the same. But what matter here is the features. If you go here to the features, you see that if you are using the basic tier, you are not able to have an auto scale. You have to scale it manually, and you are not having any daily backups or any staging slots to be used. So in order to have auto scale, you must have a premium version or standard version. And in the premium version, there are uh, another features that you not be having in the standard one, such as the elastic here. But uh, starting from standard, you are able to have rules to auto scale that. And there are the daily backups here, and the storage, the slotting is staging slots here, that there are some difference between them. So uh, here in my case, what we had during to configure it, it's one basic one, and as basic one, you see, uh, let's go to the feature view. You see there isn't outscale, and there isn't the staging slots. Uh, so because of this configuration, if you go here to the deployment and the deployment slots, you see there isn't any options here to be using this deployment slot. So in order to have that, you could click here in upgrade, that jump to the same page that we were before. And so the first plan, the cheaper one, the cheaper that we have staging slot, you will start in the standard S1, that there is 5 slots to be used. So I pick this one. This one also have rules to outscale, and so this is a good one to be used. When you upgrade it, you take just a few seconds, and now if you turn back here for the slots, you are able to add a slot. And so here in the slots, you create a slot that you call it as dev. And let's say that you already have update your code into this web app, and you could clone this one, or you, like, if you do in that way, you are cloning the code that is under the test hider. But in that case here, I don't want to clone anything here, any settings, so I create one from scratch. And why you use the deployment slot? So you could be use that for test AB. So you could be test specific version using the test AB, or you could be using uh, for the purpose of to have a deving environment, like I'm doing right now here. And in this deving environment, you could be in test having a version that it's not published for production environment. Yeah, so then you could have it to test. And then let's say you want, like, just to be sure that something, this version is working well, you also could put here how much of this traffic, the production traffic, going to pass through for this slot. If you save it here, Now we have 10% of your traffic point to this slot here, and here this slot you see there are configuration for them, and also there is a URL just for this one. It's coming here, and so if you click here you see the URL are different. Yeah, so you see test hider dash dev, and for this one is just test hider. Okay, now let's turn back here for the deployment way that you also have here in the deployment way, the deployment center. Remember when I mentioned that we are able to integrate it in order to have a continuous deployment. So you could choose here what is your source. Here we have the GitHub, Bitbucket, local Git or DevOps, or even though you could have external push here, but the best one are those one, the best approach to be using. If you choose any one of that, you are able to configure it. So then to configure it, you should go in your Azure DevOps organization, create some integration. So here you see I already have here some organizations, and there are some projects here that I can configure, but it is not the case here. But you see it's quite simple to configure it. Okay, I will discard it. I don't want to configure it right now. And so then here in the we are going to navigate now to we talked about the deployment center, the deployment slot. We also have talked about the app settings here in the configuration, that it's here in the environment variables, the connections, strings, and now the last but not the least, we have the scale. How to scale your application. Let's say that this application is receiving a lot of requests and you want to scale that. You don't want to scale your hardware, you want to scale in order to have more I say such a kind of containers for this one. You want to have more running into the same service plan. So in order to have it, you have to go here. You could be do that manually, or you could do that automatically. So here in the scale out, I believe we could be doing that from here as well, from the web app. So here in the scale out, we have talked about the scale up, that is the hardware and the feature view, but here in the scale out you are able to configure a new web apps. And so here in this plan we could be create a new instance here. For this plan we are able to create till 10. So if I save it, I will have more 10 instances running, and it's scaled. Now if you go here into your service plan, here we have R1. I want to show you guys, it's here, sorry. You see there is 10 running, but let me remember here how you, if there is any another way to see how much instances is running. beyond this configuration here. Yeah, is is the is that the way that you can see how much instance you can have it manually? But let's say that I don't want to manually update it, so we could go here in the rules based and create some rules in order to have that. In that case here, you must click here in custom outscale, give a name, just demo rule, and here I use say based on metric, and to have that, let's say my default is 1, the maximum is 10, the minimum is 1, the instance limits that I want, and I want to create a rule for that. Here, let's say that I want to create more instance when the CPU gets greater than 70%, my threshold, during 10 minutes. So then we increase account during the 5 minutes one by one. So I will add it. So then I'm scaling to in order to have more instances running to support this number of requests that it's being more, that has been increased. But uh, okay, I also want to scale down it. I want to decrease my instances, instead leave it running, otherwise my bills going to be more expensive. So to have that, you could create a new rule here, and this new rule will do the opposite. We will say that less than 50% during the 10 minutes. I want to decrease count one by one in the 5 minutes. So I have here a scale out, and I have then a scale in. So the scale out means that I will increase my instance, and my scale in I will decrease my instance here. Okay, if I save it here, we update my service plan, and now you see there is a rule configured. If you go here in the managers, you see the rule that we created. You could create a new rule here, add scale condition. It's up to you how you configure it. Yeah. You also have the run history key here, just to take advantage of that and understand how it could be created. And that's it, guys, that I wanted to present to you. We passed through here the configurations of your web app and how to create it, how to configure the deployment ways, here in the deployment ways, how to configure it. Oh, sorry, the deployment slots. You could have here the deployment to your orders to in order to do your test A/B, or you could also leave it as zero traffic, but you also could be deploying into this slot, and just your dev team will be able to access it, and you will not have any traffic production traffic pass through this one. And so here is the deployment center, the way that you're going to deploy it. So from a source here, from some configuration deployment, also there is a way to use the FTP to deploy it. And here in the settings, we have talked about the app settings that you do part of your application, the connection strings to connecting to your database. uh, the configurations here, it's related to the environment, the platform settings, and the stack versions, the default documents, path mappings is here the options to configure it. And we talk about the scale up and scale out. The scale up is responsible for hardware if you want to change your hardware perspective, and also going to be changed your feature that will be enabled or disabled for you, depends on what is the tier you are choosing here. And also the scale out, that it's responsible to scale to increase or decrease your application based on the metrics, the rules that you have configured. And that's it, guys. Hope that you have enjoyed and learn a little bit more. So feel free to reach out me if you have any doubt. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.